A very good morning to all the honorable speakers, eminent scholars, delegates, my faculty colleagues, students from various institutes. I am Pashmina Ghom and I feel privileged to welcome you all on the behalf of MIT School of Architecture, MIT Edity University for 2 days National Conference on Emerging Trends in Architecture 2018. May I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Sunil Rai sir, Honorable Executive Director and Chief Convener Mrs. Jyoti Dhakne ma'am, Honorable Chief Guest Architect Sanjay Patil sir, Guest of Honor Architect Yatin Pandya sir, Second Guest of Honor Architect Berger Cooper sir, Invitee Speaker Architect Habib Khan sir, Invitee Speaker Architect Manish Banker sir, Advisor for the conference Dr. Parag Narkhade sir, Principal Shilpa Nagapurkar ma'am to kindly occupy the chair on the dais. Once again, welcome one and all. Continuing the rich tradition of MIT, we will begin today's program with the World Peace Prayer. I request you all to rise for prayer and please close your eyes.
नमो जियाद्या वेद प्रतिपाद्या जय जय स्वसंवेद्या आत्मरूपा देवातूति गणेषु सकलार्थमतिप्रकाशु म्हणे निवृत्तिदासु अवधारि गोदी गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Thank you everyone. Now you may sit down. Now we will have our traditional auspicious light lamping ceremony as a tribute to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. For this, we would like to invite Chief Guest Sanjay Patil sir, Guest of Honor Yatin Pandya sir, Invitee Speaker Habib Khan sir, our Advisor Dr. Parag Narkhade sir, Invitee Speaker Habib Khan sir and Manish Banker sir, Professor Dr. Sunil Rai sir, Mrs. Jyoti Dhakne ma'am and Professor Shilpa Nagapurkar ma'am. Habib Khan sir and Manish Banker sir, please. As we all know, MIT Group of Institutions has set benchmark in value-based professional education in the field of art, design and technology, medicine and healthcare, school management and so on in our country. MIT Group is proud to introduce MIT Art Design Technology University Pune, a leap towards world-class education at Rajbagh campus, Loni Karbhor, Pune. MIT ADT University emphasizes on the task of nation building to promote excellence in global educational standards by introducing new and unique branches to meet national and global challenges. MIT School of Architecture, established in 2016 with the vision of excellence in the domain of architecture and planning, with more thrust on innovative teaching methods and comprehensive development of students. The conference organized here is with the aim of showcase explicitly the research in architecture and allied fields, and we have tried to achieve this through the best possible amalgamation of technical sessions supported by the expert from practice and academia. Today, among the dignitaries, Professor Dr. Mangesh Karad Sir is Executive President, MIT ADT University. He is an eminent educationalist who is passionate, progressive, philosophical, and hard-working person whose goal is to set up robust technological quality education in the line with value-based educational systems all over India, and to make MIT ADT University an excellent educational hub for Indian as well as foreign students. Dr. Sunil Rai Sir is a Vice Chancellor in MIT ADT University. He is a former Vice Chancellor, the Assam Kaziranga University, and Director of Maharashtra IT Corporation, Government of Maharashtra, Mumbai. He is a co-founder of Cambridge Global Partners, UK. He has served as a commissioned officer in the Indian Navy for 20 years. In his distinguished career in academic spanning over 15 years, he had led a top educational institutions. Mrs. Jyoti Dhakne ma'am is an executive director of MIT Group of Institutions. Now, let us proceed with felicitation of our dignitaries and guests. We are really honored to have our chief guest, Honorable Sanjay Patil sir. He is graduated from Sir J.J. College of Architecture in 1980 and established his own firm, Envon Planners, in 1981, which worked towards environment-conscious architecture, seeking inspiration from nature and the tradition. They have designed various institutional, industrial, residential projects, with each of those holding their own distinctive identity. They have won over 28 awards. To name a few are ESA Gold Awards 2008 Pune, Outstanding Contribution to Architectural Profession and Education 2011 and 12. Sanjay Patil sir is a good photographer and got many awards and has keen interest in classical music. He has also publication of a monograph, Nesting in Nature. It's our privilege to have you here, sir. I would request Dr. Sunil Rai sir to felicitate Honorable Sanjay Patil sir with a shawl and a memento as a token of warmth, love and affection. We are honored to have our guest of honor, Honorable Architect Yatin Pandya sir. He is an author, activist, academician, researcher, as well as practicing architect. With his firm Footprints Earth, he is graduate of CEPT University, Ahmedabad, and has a Masters of Architecture degree from McGill University. He has been involved with city planning, urban design, mass housing, architecture, interior design, and product design, as well as conservation projects. Yatin Pandya sir has won over 37 national and international awards for architectural design research. He has written over 300 articles in national and international journals and several books. He has been visiting faculty in National Institutes of Design and CEPT University, and guest lecturer and critic to various universities in India and abroad. He has lectured over 100 of forums in 15 different countries. It's a privilege to have you here, sir. I request Mrs. Jyoti Dhakne ma'am to felicitate architect Yatin Pandya sir with shawl and memento as a token of warmth, love and affection. We are honored to have our guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Berger Cooper. He has cultural doctorate in design philosophy from Arizona, USA, has training in architecture, landscape architecture and basic design from National Institute of Design, and participated on the projects under distinguished professionals of international repute like Professor Louis Khan, for designing of the campus for Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Mr. Charles and Ray Eames of Knoll Furnitures, California, for designing Nehru Memorial Exhibition at New York, and Mr. Claude Stroller at Beckley University, California, for designing of the Municipal School at Ahmedabad. Dr. Cooper has won 3 prestigious architectural competitions: Office Building for Pune Cantonment Board at Golivar Maidan, Chhatrapati Shivaji Market for Pune Cantonment Board, a school of Telco Employees Education Trust, Pune. He has designed and executed projects of supreme architectural quality. He has, to his credit, many awards. To name a few: Vijay Ratna Awards for enriching human life and outstanding attainment in the field of architecture and interior design, Lifetime Achievement Award from IIA. It's our privilege to have you here, sir. I request Mrs. Jyoti Dhakne ma'am to felicitate Dr. Cooper sir with shawl and memento as a token of warmth, love and affection. Okay, I'll call them on the stage to felicitate. Professor Dr. Parag Narkhade sir, advisor for the conference and BOS members for MIT Aditi University. He has done his bachelor's from Academy of Architecture, master's from COEP, and PhD from Pune University. He has 17 years of experience right now. He is a full-time faculty at BKPS College of Architecture and adjunct faculty at PG Department of Town Planning. He has served as a thesis guide for nearly 85 graduates and 30 master students. Professor Parag Narkhade sir has written extensively for various journals, magazine, and national and international seminar proceedings, and also been reviewer of the papers for national and international conferences in architecture and technology. I request Professor Shilpa Nagapurkar ma'am to felicitate Dr. Parag Narkhade sir with shawl and memento as a token of warmth, love and affection. With us, we also have our invitee speaker, Architect Habib Khan, sir. We are really honored to have you here, sir. Sir has graduated architecture as a gold medalist from VNIT in 1987 and did his master's from University of Illinois. After coming from US, he established his own firm, Smita and Habib Khan Architects. They worked on a lot of interior and architectural projects. Architecture to him is a passion, total commitment, and something to enjoy and indulge in. He is fiercely committed to architecture being contextual and relevant. He believes that architecture should be responsive to tradition, climate, context, and be environmentally and ecologically responsible. He written extensively for various publications and journals and has been invited as a speaker and resource person in national and international forums. He has been actively involved in professional institutes and has contributed substantially in the development of Nagpur and at national level. It's a privilege to have you here, sir. I request Mrs. Jyoti Dhakne ma'am to please felicitate Architect Habib Khan, sir. A second invitee speaker, Architect Manish Banker, sir. We are really honored to have you here. Manish Banker, sir, graduated in architecture from Institute of Environmental Design. He established his practice Tau Architecture with his first private residence project, Anand Villa, in 1995. Presently, Tau team of 20 persons is well supported by Associate Architect Shailesh Utavle and Managing Director Mr. Motiwal Banker. For their work of architecture and interior architecture, Tau Architecture has achieved some prestigious recognitions from various institutions including ASA, IIID, Builders Association of India, Asia Pacific Property, Artist in Concrete and All India Stone Architectural Award. Architect Manish Banker, sir, has been extensively traveling in India and around the world to explore the world of architecture. Sketching and photography are his hobbies to study and capture various built environments. He loves to share his passion for architecture with his colleagues, clients, contractors, fellow architects, designers, and students. I request Mrs. Jyoti Dhakne ma'am and Vice Chancellor Dr. Sunil Rai sir to felicitate Architect Manish Banker sir. May I request Executive Director and Chief Convener, Ms. Jyoti Dhakne ma'am, to address the August gathering.
Namaskar. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ma'am. Okay, great. So today I'm not going to take much time because there is a long day with many speeches and many speakers are there. So this is just a formality to welcome all my guests. So today, at a very first conference organized by newly started MIT School of Architecture, and so I welcome all respected members on the dais. And Pashmina already introduced everybody, so all are very thank you very much. So you gave us your valuable time, and in front of me the well-known architects and my future architects who are the student of this institute and who are going to achieve great things like our guests. So these kind of conferences are mainly, I should say, organized for you people. So you should take benefit from this. And yesterday also, it was a really great day for you people that you met Mr. Anurag Kashyap, not from the films. But he was much more than that because the way he mingled up with you people and you enjoyed his company and his suggestions, and that 3 hours were really great for you people. So for 2 days, next 2 days are also like that only. As I said, this is the first conference. But for the first conference, we got a very good response, as we received around 78 papers for publishing, and 42 papers we have selected for the presentation. So I think this is a great response for a good start. Today's conference, we are naming it is Emerging Trends in Architecture. So what we are expecting from these kind of conferences is innovative inputs from these great architects and different kind of suggestions to you people to achieve your goals. Because architecture is a very important aspect, not only in history, but also in our day-to-day lifestyle. How we study history only with a surviving architectural achievements and members who all are the part of this field. It is their responsibility to show right path to these newly studying architects. And with these kind of conferences, I think it is your responsibility to create history, because history is the thing which is which remains with only name and the remaining, like you can see the monuments of history, and that is what the history recognized with. We have like mind-boggling monuments in India and outside other countries as well. But India has a very rich tradition of this architecture, like with forts, temples, and palaces. So you have to polish it with the technology which is available to you people, which was not available for our ancestors, and you should take benefit from that and develop your own ideas, like your dreams. Because last time also, I don't know, I said it in fine arts speech or architecture speech, but जो बंद आंखों से जो सपने देख के जो साकार करता है उसे कलाकार कहते हैं. और आर्किटेक्ट जो है, इट्स अ वेरी यूनिक कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ आर्ट टेक्नोलॉजी. It is the one combination, like means you should have that freedom to develop your own skills. Yesterday also I had a talk with Anurag Kashyap sir, when he visited China, he saw the pillarless architecture. Like without, now in India still we can't think construction without pillars. Like there is a stadium which has taken the this thing inspiration from nature, bird's nest, which is built without any support. So what is that thing? It is developed outside countries. Like we are very much new for this concept. So in their college they have started with this digital architecture, and hopefully we will also work on that. But you have a lot of things to take from nature. Now this generation is really very smart, smart in earning and thinking both. So you should think in that way and take inspiration from nature and build something new and creative. Nowadays, everyone is just thinking about maximum FSI. Means all architects are thinking about, but we are not thinking much about the beautification like our ancestors did. So you people also think with like FSI in our college also, which you can see the creation. So means whatever the creations you will do, it should be for years, not कि आज बांध लिया कल 10 सालों में टूटना शुरू हुआ. No. So main thing is, don't think about the FSI, think about the beautification, think about its durability, and like our campus, which is developed by, I must say to our, all students are know who are first time comers here. I'll tell the whole and soul of this institute, MIT group of education, and our Dr. Karad sir, whose vision is to give the best education. Along with, he has given the best architectural buildings developed and designed under him. And you are very lucky that you are studying in this campus. If you sit for one day in Sangeet Academy, you can be a complete architect. I think you have visited our dome and Raj Memorial. These are really the monuments for, like, which is going to be in history, like for next generation will see that. So it's for you people, and you have to take benefit from them. And I will just say that this the name of this conference, the emerging trends in architecture. I think it is to create history to build this nation. Thank you very much.
I request Principal Nagapurkar ma'am to brief about the conference.
Good morning, all of you. Respected Chief Guest Architect Sanjay Patil sir, Chief Guest of Honor Architect Yatin Pandya sir, and Berger Cooper sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor MIT ADT University, Dr. Sunil Rai sir, our Executive Director Mrs. Jyoti ma'am, distinguished delegates, my colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to extend to you all a very warm welcome to the National Conference on Emerging Trends in Architecture. The quest of knowledge has been from the beginning of time, but knowledge only becomes valuable when it is disseminated and applied to benefit of humankind. It is hoped that this conference will be a platform to gather, disseminate, and the latest knowledge in architecture. Through this conference, we would like to engage with all of you in an open and constructive dialogue about innovative design ideas, its application, latest trends in technology, sustainable design solutions, planning for social and economic development, innovative teaching methods in architecture, etc. Sharing of new findings and exchange of knowledge by academicians, researchers, and practitioners is the main aim of this conference. It is gratifying to note that the agenda of this conference covers a wide range of interesting themes like aesthetics in architecture, design indoors, design outdoors, urban design, urban planning, building technology and materials, professional practice and education. The conference is scheduled for 2 days with presentations of keynote speakers, invitee speakers, and on research papers by various authors on conference themes. We have the privilege of holding our conference in the beautiful and well-known Rajbagh campus in Loni Karbor, Pune. In closing, I hope that all of you will enjoy the conference, and I wish our visitors from out of Pune will have a very pleasant stay in our historical city. Thank you.
I request Dr. Parag Narkhade sir to share his experiences about the conference.
Good morning, all. I still remember the day when we first discussed that we will have a conference with Principal Ma'am. We would probably expecting at that time we may receive certain papers, as it happens in many of the conferences. Because the institute just started 2 years ago, we were thinking that maybe 30 papers, 25 papers or something like that. But the team of MIT SOA, along with its students, teachers, everyone, worked so hard and so nicely that we could reach to the maximum number of institutes and people. And as ma'am said earlier, we received 78 papers, which was overwhelming response beyond our expectations. Another thing, then as a reviewer and as a member of review committee for this conference, then it becomes really a challenge for us how to select the papers for presentations out of 78 papers. Then we tried to take the opinions of the authors if they want to come here and to present. So most of them were willing to present here. That was another surprise for us. Finally, we used certain criteria to assess the papers again, and we finalized the presentations. As ma'am explained, there are 6 sub-themes to this conference with the major theme of emerging trends. Emerging trends is one of the general theme which can be participated and attended by everyone in the field, including academicians as well as the practitioners. The criteria which we use for assessing the paper included the relevance of the writing, the language, then another thing, relevance to the sub-theme and theme. These were the 3 major criteria we use for assessment. Accordingly, they were marked, the points were given, and the same thing is sent to the IJER, which is our partner journal, to publish the proceedings. It is one of the good thing which it's with this conference, that proceedings are not published independently as an institute publication, but it is a refereed publication with ISSN number of IJER. So it is going to be one asset for all the presenters here in the conference. Another thing, to work with MIT SOA team is a wonderful experience where everyone worked to their best. To visualize and to implement the conference when some institute is of only 2 years old is really an interesting as well as a challenging thing. But here everyone proved that they can do anything in the given specific time. It took me to one of the conferences which I attended in 2009 at Istanbul, where architecture department was recently started and 4 years were their total duration. They separated from the main university. At that time, Dr. Salama from UK, he's one of the very popular author. He was there. He told that day as an assessor that the institute, which is only 4 years old and can host such an interesting conference, is surely going to have a bright future in recent as well as advanced future. I remembered those words. Instead of those 4 years, now this institute is only 2 years old and can host such a wonderful conference here. So at national level, so I congratulate everyone here that we surely can expect after 2 years or even after 1 year to host an international conference based on the experience which I had with everyone here by MIT SOA. At last, I am very thankful to get this opportunity from the management of MIT SOA and School of Architecture. And it was really a great experience to act here as an advisor and reviewer. I was really a fortunate advisor because advisor is valued when his advice is valued, and everyone valued my advice in many of the respects, and I'm very glad and thankful for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We will start with the inauguration of conference proceeding for National Conference on Emerging Trends of Architecture. We had a tie-up of International Journal of Engineering Research, IJER. That IJER papers will be live online with IJER website. I request all the dignitaries on the dais to inaugurate the conference proceeding. Thank you, everyone. I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Sunil Rai, sir, to say a few words.
Very good morning to all of you, the accomplished architects and the accomplished architects to be, the students of the MIT ADT University School of Architecture. I join our Executive Director Jyoti ji and Principal Architect Shilpa in welcoming all the dignitaries on the dais, all the dignitaries of the dais, the faculty colleagues, staff members of the School of Architecture, and above all, my dear students, the budding architects. This conference is already going great. As was just mentioned, that just in the second year, the school is hosting a conference with 75 entries. It's a kind of a record in itself. So I would like to once join you in complimenting the team for the hard work that they have put in. And this conference is going to go great and is going to go places. I have no doubt about it. To the guest, I would like to share, sir, that yesterday I was in Delhi at the Niti Aayog, pitching for the Atal Incubation Center, for which out of 2,000 applicants, 200 were shortlisted and only 50 were called for the presentation. MIT ADT University is one of them. The university is also in the second year. University is as old as the School of Architecture. So just in 2 years, if we are reaching there, it's all kudos to our father founder, Honorable Dr. Vishwanath Karatji, who, as Jyoti ji mentioned, we don't know what to call him. Because by qualification, he is a mechanical engineer. He was a celebrated professor of thermodynamics in College of Engineering, a subject which all engineers dread. And he used to teach it with ease and elan. And as she mentioned to you, he is an artist in himself. All this architecture, he doesn't use any pencil or pen. He just comes, closes his eyes, opens his eyes, and he has got set of people, and he just says, "Asa asa karaicha," and you find a beautiful monuments coming as you are seeing. Why I'm mentioning this is, no wonder this campus, sir, has been rated as the best campus in the country by ASSOCHAM. So with the MIT, the Myers Group, their dedication and contribution to the cause of education has been applauded, not only in the country, the world over. We have alumni who are shining in more than 40 countries, as the records with me. This is being mentioned that the School of Architecture of MIT is housed in the correct location, where we have the arts, design, and technology, a rare combination not found anywhere in the country, that these kind of disciplines, 13 constituent units, all exist on one campus. So the vision of Dr. Vishwanath Karadji, who is by far the most eminent educationist our nation has seen in the recent times, a firm believer of the principles of Swami Vivekananda ji, devout worshipper of Sant Gyaneshwar and Pandharpur Vithalji. He is a saint by himself. You know, if you see him, very simply dressed, very partisan way of life, but very high thinking. Now, with this kind of a setting, what I just mentioned, to the young architects, it's a great honor indeed. One is, of course, today, and on the course of 2 days, you are going to hear, learn from the stalwarts of the field of architecture. Please use this conference to grow, as our executive director, executive president, Dr. Mangesh Karad. He always says that MIT ADT University believes in creating winning personalities. So all of you have to win that laurels and name for this university through your performance in the field. And the architecture is a unique, Jyotiji is mentioned, you are artists and you are also technologists. The good thing about architecture is that the greatness of a nation, the richness of the society, and the resolve of the architect is the architecture. Nations are known by their architecture. People will come, people will go. Things will vanish. But architecture displays the true character of a civilization. So you people are not just building monuments and buildings. You are the carriers of the culture and the richness of the society of the great nation that we, all of us who have been fortunate to be born in. So please remember this, that you are in a great institution, MIT ADT University. You are also have been very fortunate to join a choiced field, where you can contribute towards, through architecture, you talk to the society, you convey to the society, and it is the resolve, as I said, and Jyotiji mentioned. You go to Shaniwar Wada, there's a different story it tells. The story of the entire Maratha power, the victory, the resolve of standing against the aggressors, it's all depicted in that architecture. Or if you want to see love, go to Taj Mahal, and so on and so forth. Right? So I will wish this conference all the very best. Please listen to and imbibe. Of course, ultimately, you must evolve as an architect who will do your own things, have your own message, have your own method of conveying what I just now said. Wish you all the very best, and I wish the conference all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Chief Guest Sanjay Patil, sir, to say a few words. I request Guest of Honor, Architect Yatin Pandya, sir, Berger Cooper, sir, to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you very much. and a good morning to all of you all. Let me give special thanks to Madam Jyoti Karat Dakne for inviting me here as a guest of honor. This is the second time that I've come over here as a guest of honor, and believe me, to me, it is a great honor. The main purpose, as mentioned by you in this conference, is the creation of a white paper. White paper to guide the curriculum of architectural schools and colleges in a more appropriate direction. You will be hearing people to talk about the principles and purposes of aesthetics in architecture, urban design, planning, professional practices, quality management, interior design, landscaping, conservation in architecture, as well as building, construction, and technology. All of these are very, very illuminating discourses. However, I have a feeling that in keeping with the creation of a white paper, there is one topic that has not been touched as yet, or will not be touched as yet, if what is written to us is going to be followed. And that is that I feel that students should be made aware of the plight of the poor and the differently abled people. Provision should be done in design to help mentally, visually, auditory disabled people by providing special designs, furniture, crockery, cutlery, and designing to improve their mobility and transport. Fashion design schools can look into special designs for clothing the appearance of the disabled people. Don't we feel upset when we feel people with inappropriate clothing, a sleeve hanging around like this, because there is no arm in it? As designers, I cannot understand why we have not thought of designing clothing in such a manner that the person who is wearing it doesn't feel he is an out of person. Further, most of the colleges, whether in Pune or anywhere in India, fall under the purview of the Bombay University or the Pune University or some other university. And therefore, their curriculums are guided by what has been mentioned in that. We architects have the chance to do something different. There is a lot of material available on the net about what can be done for disabled people, what can be done in designing architectural and interior projects. But, however, what ultimately happens is that we'll end up with providing a ramp near steps or a railing in the toilets. What we need to do is to build an empathy in students for the poor and the disabled. If this happens, then at the end of 5 years, when they start practicing or working in some firm, they will probably have a lot of material to fall back upon. Another point that I would like to stress upon is that students of architecture and interior design are made aware of the effects of color, form, and space on human emotion. We all know the red is supposed to be dynamic, blue is a cool and soothing color, yellow is a vibrant color, etc. However, there is no study that has been done stating reasons, specific or psychological, why this has to happen or why this does happen. Maybe a research project can be done by the students, guided by professors, to find out the reason for these effects on human emotions. The next point that I would talk about is when a design problem is given, we as professors teach them how to solve that problem. But this is not enough. Where will the student go after his 5th year when he starts practice? Will he come back to his professors to ask them for help? Or will he go to his boss and say, please tell me what to do? Perhaps it is more important to teach them how to approach a design problem rather than helping him solve the immediate problem on hand. Although a lot of thought has been given to look into these things, no action has been taken up to now. As I said previously, most colleges, or because they are under the universities that have been established, have to go by their dictates. However, the MIT ID has the distinction of being a part of a deemed university, and due to this has the freedom to totally take on new topics. And these new topics can be used within 25% of their curriculum. This can be taken advantage of to cover the points that I have been talking about. I wouldn't like to take much more of your time, but would like to state that I'd be happy to help in whatever manner to implement what I have said. Thank you very much.
May I request Architect Yatin Pandya sir to say a few words?
Namaskar, very good morning. It's been indeed an honor and privilege to be part of this event, and knowing more, and while walking through the campus, I was reminded of one story and one joke, so I'll do that and leave. The story goes that as a pupil of, or aspiring pupil for architecture, went to a guru, to an architect, saying that please teach me architecture. And the architect said that, son, I can't teach you architecture unless you know sculpting, because architecture has three-dimensionality, it has form and proportions. So you better first learn sculpting. So he goes to a sculptor. The sculptor says, I can't teach you sculpting unless you know dance, because it has emotions, it has bhav, mudras and whatnot, so you must first learn dance. So then he goes to a dancer. The dancer says, I can't teach you dance unless you know music, because it's about pause and stanzas and whatnot, and you must first learn music. Then he goes to a musician. Musician says, I can't teach you music unless you know literature, the poetry. Then he goes to a poet, and poets are always philosophical, and he says that, son, how can poetry be ever taught? You live life and poetry will emerge. It's all around you, what you absorb, and that's basis of any architecture. Because this campus, I was reminded of so, because there is music, there is design, there's architecture now, there's been engineering, and all these come together. So I believe it would be a most privileged place to have all of these come together at one place. So in that sense, I feel you're lucky. And in a lighter vein, you know, every discipline has its own kind of onus and has its own speciality. So it's about changing the bulb. How many engineers you need to change the bulb? Just half. They're very efficient. You know, one person can change 2 bulbs at a go. How many psychoanalysts do you need to change the bulb? 1, but bulb must be willing to change. How many mystery writers do you need to change the bulb? 2, 1 to almost put it on, and 2nd to give a last-minute twist. How many lawyers do you need to change the bulb? 3, 2 to argue out how to do it, and 3rd to give the verdict. How many Facebook ever do you need to change the bulb? 202, 1 to put it on, 2nd to upload it, and 200 to like it. And how many architects do you need to change the bulb? 10,000, 1 to hold the bulb, 9,999 to rotate the room. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I request our chief guest, Architect Sanjay Patil, sir, to say a few words.
Good morning, distinguished dais and off the dais, my friends, students. This is my 2nd time to visit your place. Last time I visited to formulate the syllabus. Syllabus committee, I was there. When I was discussing yesterday with ma'am about the seminar, I was wondering, like in second year of your college, I mean, and you are holding such a big seminar with so many speakers of different faculties and distinguished speakers. It's really unique thing, and I must congratulate to all the faculty for this, and more to the management, which is supporting to the faculty. This is a very unique case, I think I will say, because at 2nd year level to hold such a seminar is a great achievement. I'm aware of the fact that the MIT Design School is one of the best school in India, maybe the next to the NID. And I'm sure this architecture will also become that great in few years, coming few years. So I wish you all the best, and I'm sure that you are in a very good hands and campus and management. So I congratulate to everybody and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On the behalf of MIT School of Architecture, I would like to express our gratitude to Honorable Chief Guest, Architect Sanjay Patil, sir, Guest of Honor, Architect Yatin Pandya, sir, or 2nd Guest of Honor, Dr. Burjo Cooper, sir, for sparing their valuable time. We hope this association of ours continues and strengthens in times to come. Last but not the least, we would wholeheartedly thank our audience for their patient hearing. Now, please rise up for National Anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे
Thank you all. We will break for the tea and come back within 15 minutes. Tea will be served outside the auditorium. Thank you.
The top words that come upon Google search when you look for the emerging trend in architectures. These are some of the words which you will find in Google when you search the emerging trends in architecture. So these are invisible, sustainable, unique, urban, concrete, green. In the recent modern era, the two architects stand out for carving the niche in the style of architecture. And one of them is Frank Lloyd Wright. Some of his works. This is a very famous falling water. Taliesin West. Johnson Wax. So these are the trendsetter example of modern architecture. Guggenheim Museum in New York, which is again a very important structure in terms of architecture. Then I think Corbusier is another major trendsetter in the field of architecture. Some of his examples of his work, this is Mill Owners Association, Ahmedabad, High Court, Chandigarh. This is another important landmark building, and this one is the top of his career, Notre Dame de Ronsham. The Ruby House by F.L. Wright in 1909 and Shodan House by Le Corbusier in 1956. The trend that was set by these styles are still in use. Now, take an example of Corbusier. This is Modernism by Le Corbusier. His 5 points in architecture, freeing the ground space, free plans, free facade, horizontal sliding windows, roof gardens. The game changer in modernism established the 5 points in architecture, liberated the building constraint of his earlier style. This is Villa Savoy. Villa Savoy is the best example of Corbusier's 5 point. He is also known for his love affair with concrete. During the Unity Day habitation, the project Corbusier first explored exposed concrete. Since then, he was also been credited for brutal use of concrete. The material and technology. Example of such brutalist expression is the Capitol complex in Chandigarh. The most building trends are a result of exploration in the material and technology. This is Herzog de Meuron parking come. So this becomes a kind of structure which is an example of used to be constructed in this parking lot. So there is a parking lots by day and event space by night. This is another example of project that shows the extent of exploitation of concrete as a material. This is the Sana's Rolex Learning Center in Switzerland, and you can see the building. I'm fortunate to see this structure actually on site. fluidity of concrete is expressed in the fluidity of of the structure and spaces within. So it's a really there is no flat surfaces in this building. So it's a path-breaking structure, you can say. Then comes the example of Alvaro Siza. This is Portugal Pavilion in Lisbon, and famous for its hanging lightweight concrete canopy of 67.5 meters span. So these are the trendsetters in their field. You can see this thin slab of concrete. It is formed by the catenary arc of steel cables draped between the porticos infilled with the pre-stressed concrete. Then we have our own example of Raj Rival's Hall of Nations in New Delhi, built to reflect India's intermediate technology in the 25th years of its independence. And Raj Rival could make such structures in the typical government scenario. There was, if you see that in the manual, in the PWD manual, Raj Rival could make this impact by creating his own specifications. The used space frames for the roof as well as the inclined concrete walls evolved from the traditional jali pattern, clear span of 75 meters by 75 meters in the length and breadth, and the height is 25 meter internal height. Demolished in April 2017, unfortunately. Great loss to the Indian heritage of modern architecture. Then we have example of precast concrete technology. This is Museo Intercontinental del Barso, Mexico, Toyo. So this is basically made up of precast walls and slabs. Each wall is unique and freestanding. So you can see the panels, which are freestanding walls. And all the same, the walls functions as a structural load-bearing walls with a total thickness of 36 centimeter. Then we have our own example by Sanjay Mohe. This is Abhilasha from your own city. This is by Rohan Builders. And use of tunnel construction is a technology for the concrete here. And when I was there on the site, it was told that even the parent company who gave the formwork and the technology, they have also not used this kind of approach in the construction of such apartments. So Mohe has really innovative ideas regarding this. The formwork is hoisted by cranes on the top. That one of this you can see here also. This is the formwork here, and this one is also. So this is again a new technology, which the formwork here you can see that this is a formwork, and this is from the other side. Now, all the same, we have young architects also practicing in a different mode. This is first time uses a filler slab technology in Pune. It's a Prasanna More. You can see on the left-hand side the filler slab without there are no beams. The slab itself accommodates the beam, and this is ground plus 11 structures building. And the next. This is with the jali, which is again a use of parametrics in the. So these are also environmental sustainable kind of building. Earliest example of ferro cement, the boat in ferrocement in 1848. So that time, that was a really pioneering, work in ferrocement. And then we have our own M.F. Hussain and B.V. Doshi at Hussain Doshi Gumfa at Ahmedabad. Example of ferrocement. The internal spaces are again different. They are unique in terms of its spatial quality. You don't have typical columns, beams, roofs, floor. So everything is path breaking. Then we have another example of Anupama Kundu's work. This was displayed in Binale, Paris Binale. This fulfill home, and this is actually modular stack of ferrocement boxes, and which acts as the storage from inside. And this is supposed to be a very cost-effective housing. And there is another example of disaster relief shelter made up of ferrocement. This is also by Anupama Kundu, where the formwork is also very simple, made up out of origami folded cardboard, which can be repeatedly used. So these are the new trends in quick construction, fast construction. The steel is always known for its structural strength. Many high-rise buildings have achieved their heights thanks to the steel used for their structural system. This building explores an unconventional use of the same technology. This is by Toyo Ito at Sendai Mediathek Library building. The structural steel core cuts through the slab of all the levels. And they accommodate services, staircases, lifts area, thousands housed inside them. And they also act as a light and ventilation shaft. We are fortunate to see this with Ravi Gadre in Japan few years back. This is recently completed museum project by Jean Nouvel, Louvre, Abu Dhabi. This is circular steel dome covers the shades of individual museum blocks below. The wave pattern dome allows sunlight to pass through, and the jali consists of 7,850 aluminum stars of varying sizes within 8 layers. So it's an amazing structure again, which is, so you can see the scale of the dome spans 180 meters, and this is made up of 85 parts that were assembled by hosting them on the site with the help of cranes. It is supported by 4 piers hidden within the inside building. The dome cuts 98% of the total height gain, and the building is that way. It's very new technology. This is another building by Franco Gehry, which is again a recent, one of the recent building, and Louis Vuitton Foundation, Paris. The building is dubbed as an iceberg, and composed of unfolding blocks made up of reinforced concrete panels supported by steel and wooden members. Special software called Digital Project was developed to realize this building. So this is again a new trend happening in building industry. Like you have softwares which are supporting the building construction. This is a Barcelona pavilion by Mies van der Rohe. This is although it is an old building, but this is the important building in history of modern architecture. The design evokes a strong sense of minimalism and has inspired many important modernist buildings. Most well-known extravagant use of marble, red onyx and travertine stone. So in the material again, this is another example of Thermivals in Switzerland by Peter Zumthor. And the extraordinary example of modern building built with stone as main building material. The Thermivals is built from layers upon the layers of locally quarried Welser quartzite slabs. The material and design together tried to achieve a cave-like ambience. The simplicity of the structure highlights every other non-stone element used in its design. This is another recently completed building by Foster and Partners and Heatherwick Studio in Shanghai. The building's USP is mechanical moving well. The well is organized along with the 3 tracks and made up of layers of 675 individual magnesium alloy tassel, like the traditional Chinese bridal hairdress. The tassel ranges the height from 2 meters to 16 meters. Sorry. So you can see the movement of facade. This is another example, this aquatic center at Beijing in Beijing Olympics. The comprise of steel space frame structure with the largest ETFE cladded structure in the world, with the ETFE pillows that are only 2.2 mm thick. The result is 30% decrease in the energy cost. The ETFE is the fluorine-based plastic. It is designed to have high corrosion resistance and strength over a wide temperature range. Then another example of membrane structure, which is again a new technology, where the Arata Isuzaki and Anish Kapoor, they are jointly developed this in Japan. This is another example of membrane structure. The entire structure is inflatable and mobile. So you can have the large auditorium space covered with this kind of structure. And you can just move this place from one place to another. So mobility of structure is there. So these are now unique and iconic structures. Up till this point, Paris was known only by the Eiffel Tower. But with this structure, delicate members of steel supported on the specially manufactured glass for the achieving the maximum transparency. The underground museum is bathed with the natural light, and the tension members that are from the part of the complex structural system. These are some of the iconic buildings that you all know. This is the Pompidou Center in Paris by Renzo Piano, Richard Rogers. One of the best example of the high-tech building style. All the functional structural elements of the buildings were colored red, color coded. The green pipes are plumbing, blue ducts are for the climate control, electrical wires for the electrical wires are encased in a yellow, and the circulation elements in the device for the safety, that is fire extinguishers, and are in red. The iconic project that put Bilbao on the world map by this is another Guggenheim Museum, Bilbao, by Franco Gehry. The phenomenon of a city's transformation following the construction of this significant piece of architecture is now referred to as the Bilbao effect. So this has totally changed the city character, and it has put the city into, which was a sinking city in terms of development and its character. But with this, the city is again on the world map and tourist map. The construction of titanium, limestone and glass, the seemingly random curves and exterior are designed to catch the light and react to the sun and weather. Because of the mathematical intricacy, the twisting curves were designed using a 3D design software called CATIA. So this is again a new trend in the field of architecture. The design with series of stacked pitched roof. This is Herzog de Meuron at Vitra, Germany. The stacked houses reflect the form of local architecture, yet they also reflect the technological innovation. The stacked into a total of 5 stories and cantilevered up to 49 feet. In some places, each opening gets a fresh and unique view. Another trend setter in the field of architecture is Zaha Hadid. And you will not miss the Zaha Hadid's architecture. You can make out from any of her structure, you can make out that it's Zaha Hadid structure. The fluid building attempts to break the rigidity of the prevailing architecture of the city. This is at Azerbaijan. The glass fiber reinforced concrete GFRC and glass fiber reinforced polyester GFRP were chosen as an ideal cladding material. This is some of the construction photographs. The building consists of 2 collaborating systems, a concrete structure combined with the space frame system. Another important landmark building in recent area is the Moshe Safdie's Marina Bay Sands at Singapore. Built as the world's most expensive casino, the concept of folding cards resting against each other. The project aims to create a vital public place at the district urban scale. The world's largest rooftop infinity pool on a 340 meters long sky deck with a 65-meter cantilever. This is by Sir Peter Cook. Conceived as an exhibition center for the contemporary art. Out of place appearance amongst the surrounding Baroque landscape. It's like an alien structure in this place. Gherkin has also become one of the world's newest urban icon. Form is negatively compared to the bullet and missile. This is again a Herzog de Meuron's building at Madrid, the pebble-shaped building. This is by MZ Architects at Abu Dhabi. And more example of attention-seeking architecture. Using typography and scale to bring attention to the otherwise simple building. Our own example, they took iconism very literally. This is the Infosys building. Iconic buildings have there always been horizontal. Since the development in construction technology, building have aspired to reach sky high. And these are some of the examples, iconic structures, sky-rise building. This is Chrysler Tower. This is Miss van der Rohe's tower. This is Sears Towers in Chicago. This is Sir Norman Foster's HSBC headquarter Hong Kong building. Noteworthy example of building that puts the structural system on the outside. This created a column-free office space that overlooked central atrium. Then another example of building that moved all these toilet services, elevators, staircases, structural core of a traditional high-rise building towards the exterior. This is Richard Rogers Lloyd's, London. Caesars Pilla is the Petronas Tower. This is 101 Taipei, the world's second tallest building, largest building with the LEED Platinum rating. And 660-ton steel pendulum hang in the upper story that serves as a tuned mass damper. So in the earthquake zone area, this balances the building. This is again Burj Khalifa by Skidmore Rowing, world's tallest building so far. Now the most important current trend is the sustainability. This is a Peter Reach building in South Africa. The walls have been designed using 600-year-old construction system to achieve the low economical and environmental impact. So the traditional timbrel vaulting system, locally made pressed soil, cement tiles, allows the design to be materialized within minimal formwork and no steel reinforcement. Then we have our own example, Chitra Vishwanathan, residence she has done. So Biome adopted the rammed earth foundation stabilized adobe walls and soil biotechnology method for grey water treatment. The foundations were first layered with the plastic collected from the surroundings. So that is kind of environmental awareness. Surroundings, and then earth excavated was rammed for the foundation up to the ground level. The stabilized adobe have been used for the guest wing. Existings have been retained and the verandas in place above the underground water tank. Then Salano Bentis is another very good example of sustainable architecture, rubble with a traditional local material. The rubble from old structure used to make prefabricated walls. So this is also unique kind of structures. In brick is used as a primary building material. The material is then exploited through the use of lattice walls. So this we cannot imagine. I mean, this is again a trendsetter kind of walls in the. This Heatherwick Studios learning hub in Singapore. It's a collection of handmade concrete towers surrounding central space by bringing everyone together. This is another recent building in Singapore. The building opens out, open in and permeable atrium in naturally ventilated, maximizing the air circulation around the towers and cooling the space within. Each room is cooled by using silent convection. Then we have the example of reuse. This is again by Heatherwick Studio. This is a museum in Africa, contemporary art museum. And it was actually silo. The granary in Cape Town was used as, unused since 1990. The museum was carved from the 42 concrete tubes. So these tubes were cut in a very interesting way. The old wing, this is the old building. Tallest, that time it was the tallest in Cape Town. So reuse building housing the luxury hotel in the upper floors and the museum are below. So you can see the hotel in the upper floor. Again, a green future, we have this Nicholas Grimshaw's Eden project, where the abandoned quarry was used as a green garden space. This is another Park Royal Singapore by Woha Architects. Overriding the concept was that the building has garden and idealized green city. So you can see that the building is totally becoming green. And there are now many more examples are coming up. This is also in Milan. This is the first example of vertical forest. And now the cities are also becoming green. And this is Masdar city in city of the future. This is aimed to be a sustainable city. Now coming to our own city, and this is he is a Pratik Dhamner. He is a graduate from Mumbai College of Architecture, Academy of Architecture, and he shifted to a village to create an example of revitalizing the local architecture by this young architect. So they are there to this is also path-breaking system that all of us are coming to the cities, but this architect is moving to the villages and creating interesting structures with the local craftsmen and local material. I think this is also an important step towards the architecture, and still you have a scope of creating interesting projects. Another example of Prasanna More, that example of molding the vernacular style with their own expressions. So you can see the kind of stonework that is molded in fluidity. Use of glass, bottle and stone is another unique thing in his architecture. Further to that, exploring the limit of technology and material by Prasanna More from Pune only. And these are all concrete, this is stone cladded in fractal, this is called a fractal house. and another, kind of innovation in the construction technology. Now, where do we stand? So we stand in the middle ground. So that is why I said this is a middle ground and our work. So this is a Junagade house with the use of exposed bricks and stone, with lot of landscape material, landscape codes, and basic material used in the building. But we don't restrict ourselves to the traditional material or low-cost material. We also fulfill the aspiration of client. And this is another little plush house with Italian stone and all that. So we don't restrict ourselves to any kind of styling system. So somebody was asking, what is the USP of your work? So I said the happy client is the one of the best certificate and USP of our work. So we try to make client happy, but all the same retaining the principle of architecture, principles in architecture. So these are some of the interior pictures. Then we have designed some institutions which are again climate responsive. This is Sandeep Foundations Engineering College, Sandeep University. And so we have used the screening with the new material of, that time it was a new Shira sheet, cement silica fiber boards. And this is used as a enveloping system, which protects from the climate, harsh climate and rains. Again, we have used the local craftsman, local material there. They're protecting from the, that is a kind of climate responsive architecture. This is another institute, M.E.T. Bhujbal Knowledge City at Nasik. This is an atrium. And this is a library building, which is an iconic structure, which acts as a entrance at the entrance. So you have at the entrance an iconic structure, which reflects the technology. Then we have this library building by SIMU. This is again on the green principle. We have roof extractors, and the glazing is on the north. This is another example of what you give to society. This is a Kusumagra Smarak. It's a memorial for Jnanpith Award winner from Nasik. And this is again a pro bono work. We have not deprived the locality from their garden, but since it was an open space, so we decided to go within, earth shelter structure. So the top is used as a garden, and then the bottom you have a nice, the various activities are happening in the memorial. So we have various activity happening: library, the Jeevan Darshan hall, the conference hall, and then some small get together. Small multifunctional space, art gallery. So the shelter structure, which we have retained all the trees and the roof. There are also roof extractors all through the building, and then it looks from the bird's eye view. This is again another example of readaptive use of the building. This is a papaya nursery building, and this is on the rooftop. This was an old tanks, British era elevated water reservoir, and we have converted them into pool, some sitting areas and guest beds. So this is how the structure was, and this is how it looking now. So very positive space now. And lastly, this is another project which is very simple. It's a farmhouse at Marriott. This is you can say it is a totally sustainable project. The reduce, recycle, and reuse, all three R's are there. So the material, the stone is quarried from the same area. There are hardly three materials: wood, stone, and terracotta tiles. The arches that you see are the salvaged arches from the. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is important to keep up with the changing trends in abstraction and utopian striving. Very nice speech. Thank you. May I request Honorable Guest, Architect Yatin Pandya, sir, to enlighten the audience with his worthy words on towards human, sustainable, and timeless architecture, perspectives for India.
Everlasting trends in architecture, because architecture is about timelessness. So it's not a monopoly of one era, one person, one product. It's the thought and it's that concern that as architect we are trying to learn and personify. So what are the bases, what are the kind of principles, what are the set of concerns that when we talk about a milieu such as India, should we be looking at, and especially as aspiring students, I mean, lifetime everybody is a student, so it's not you versus us. How do we look at that context? You know, like I always say, what is education about? Like doctor is trained, he knows many diseases, but he's simply trained to correctly diagnose what the patient suffers from, and then of course he treats it for that. Once you know it's malaria, you also know what tablet to take. Google can always help you, but Google can't diagnose disease for you. There might be many ways, many reasons for you to have fever. So I think it is that about any professional, and especially architecture, where it's nothing like beautiful or good or bad. It's always appropriate or inappropriate, and appropriate to the place and people. And therefore, if we learn about all different dimensions and concerns, and for the given milieu, whatever is the right disease, right answer, right treatment, is actually what education is about. So it's from that perspective, if we try and decode our anatomy as India, who we are, our DNA as India, what we carry, and it's on those architectural heritage in terms of not yesterday's, but which has transcended that time and continue to inspire awe. Can we base on that eternal truth? Can we base on that fundamentals of space making? Branches, but it's the root and the nourishment that it gets is what it is about. So it's in that perspective, let me quickly run through, and as I say, the primary goal or obligation is that architecture has to be timeless because buildings last beyond us. It has to be humane because we never hardly do it for ourselves, it's always for somebody, and therefore it's to match with the way of life and aspiration of the others. And we are responsible. The moment we put a building, we're altering the landscape, we're consuming the resources. So it's to kind of augment all that responsibility and be aware about resources that we consume and what we create. Now today, the buzzword, the fog of today's political thing is smart city. The question is that if this is the image of smart city that is being toyed on the cover page of the government websites, that's where these questions emerge. But if we call that to be the smart, have our cities all along been dumb?
Is tradition to be construed as anti-modern? Is this the face of new India? Is progress to be misconstrued as growth? And is West the best? We have had built and which has continued to be lived in, and they, like homes create family. Families create neighborhood. Neighborhoods create settlements, and those create eventually city and nation. So there has been a responsibility, and there has been the kind of responses about what we create that eventually makes up for the society and nation at large. We need to acknowledge the kind of challenges and realities we are faced with, and in that, idea is not to start with pessimism, but to acknowledge that these are the challenges, and how through our design, how through our architecture, how through our professional responses do we overcome. And it's also with the conviction that these can be met with. These are the challenges where there has been win-win answers for all. And some of the paths that we know is probably already laid out by our own legacies that we inherit. And it's more about not Gandhi as what we see in the currency note and the political idiom, but it's about that he chose to encourage something like a Netio. Now it's not its symbol of technology progress, but it's simply that a woman sitting at home while cooking dal can also spin few yarns, and she can empower herself. And if she is empowered economically and otherwise, then only she'll be free of exploitation. Otherwise, British will go, but the machos at home to slumlords, to whatever, would continue to exploit. So the true freedom comes by that. So its point is that it's with one act, very small, it can have a trigger effect, and it can really make a larger difference to the eventually the last denominator in our society. So it's with that claim, let's understand what architecture can do and what are its obligations. For a holistic architecture, it needs to go through these 5 fundamental filters, aesthetic, timelessness, as I said, because it's beyond us, socio-cultural appropriateness, environmental and resource management, economic affordability, and structural strength. We might talk about first 3 for now. Design is not about finding one answer to one question. It's about asking many questions, finding many answers to each of these questions, and then picking one answer that answers most to all questions. So it's about discretion. It's about adding value, about ability to discern between appropriate and inappropriate, appropriateness to the given milieu, that is place and people. So if we talk about that appropriateness for a context such as India within which we operate, what way do we understand the DNA and analyze the anatomy of it, biology of it, chemistry of it? This is it the face of India? Is it about ism and branding? Do we need to judge the book by the cover? Are these paradoxes, or they are the natural extensions of the way we see the world, way we live the world, and so on and so forth? And that's where I want to begin with this, that these are not dichotomies, they are not paradoxes, it's not a joke, because it's in India that we have these history as a living tradition. I believe history is a dead tradition, while tradition is a living history. When something becomes obsolete for the changed time and circumstance, it dies its own death, while something that may have been coming from yesterday but has continued to be part of us today, that survival in changed time is in itself a proof of those values being shared even in a changed time, and that is therefore as much contemporary. So when we talk about tradition, it's not regressing, it's not reversing the clock, it is simply understanding the constancies on which things have built, and the fact that it has transcended and just survived is actually the foundation. If we can pick up from, I think we would be on a solid foundation. So it's with that understanding that in India we don't have embalmed yesterday, we don't have fossilized history, but we live through that as part of us today, and that's the kind of standpoint with which we look at it. So it's not grandmother's romance, it's not the nostalgia, but purely on performance basis. For example, If yesterday's architecture, even as a ruin, continue to inspire awe and visit and revisit and pay for traveling to that, is that not a spatial quality that we can imbibe and put in our architecture today? The second one, that they have been off place, for place, by people, for people kind of a syndrome. So they understood the forces of the place and they have responded to those. So they've been socio-culturally appropriate. And even today, if they find relevant to the lifestyle, why can't we learn from that? And third, if they were part of the pre-energy days, pre-electricity days, and still through architecture, through space making, if they could find comfort. You go to the Rajasthan palaces or many of the temples, they don't have air conditioner, and yet if they feel cool and comfortable, why can't we learn those principles and apply that? Even if you use AC, we can kind of maybe use less tonnage. Or maybe in daytime, we don't need artificial light to unnecessarily burn. So it is these performance criteria about timelessness, about cultural appropriateness, and about energy efficiency or sustainability, for which, if we can learn through this architecture because of their proven performance, is the standpoint from where we are picking up, not just because it's yesterday and old is gold. So this is why we see this overlay of time in Indian subcontinent, where moorings from the past and aspiration for tomorrow coexist to create realities of today. For example, this one is actually wanting to be a global citizen. It's advertisement to say, Australia calling, come for higher education to Australia. But the most effective, affordable tool to do this is this archaic version of camel cart going through the 6th largest city of the country, going the gullies with 250 rupee or an 8-hour shift sort of a thing. Our DNA lies in the value of caring and sharing. We respect individuality, but we also have to conform to the larger order of the society. The idea of resilience and endurance, so the tenacity, the flexibility, the kind of way the life can go on despite the odds. So that's the positive khamir that we're talking about. Pluralism, as many people, as many gods, may be an accusation, but to me it's a fantastic concept. The moment you go for a single truth, it won't be accepted by all. But if you leave it open, that whatever vehicle that carries you where, you reach in time and reach in right place is what is important, not the vehicle. And that's the same concept that we find applied in our sari as an idea, which is also one fantastically plural, singular kind of a cloth, but can be worn differently at different times and looks different on different bodies. I was very impressed. I was going to ask her where did she get the red and black sari yesterday, and today both ladies were in most elegant, this thing. And 6-year sari, but looks different and can be worn multiply. So that's the kind of pluralism we are talking about, the multiple truth we are talking about. And close to lunch, it's not, inappropriate to talk about pluralism through food. One of the fantastic concepts that we have of pluralism is in the concept of thali. Thali's ingredients are all mass-produced. And you have right to not like the ingredient, but I'm talking about the concept. Okay. Let's compare with yours and mine favorite example of food or liked food, pizza. Yes. Now, pizza is an idea of a complete meal to me, that once you've chosen the ingredients, you've chosen the topping and the crust, once cooked, first bite tastes the same as the next bite, tastes the same as the last bite, and you eat the same pizza as I do, you can compare the experience of the food alike. Compare that with thali. Thali as an idea of a combination meal. So first pluralism is that you are the designer of your bite. So every bite is a unique composition, same ingredients served same to all, but first bite need not taste the same as the next, need not taste the same as the last. And you eat the same thali as I do, we can not compare the experience of food alike, because my sequence may be different, my proportion may be different, and my combination may be different. So that's fantastically plural, and that's what, if we can learn ever in architecture to create architectural thali that connects to all, you have a role to adapt to it yourself, and yet there is a pre-prepared, some framework within which you can customize. So I think that's kind of foundation, that's a kind of lesson, that's the kind of fog we need to carry on. We have variety out of the same concept, that as many regions, as many sub-places would have that. I hope we have this pitala bhat or whatever today, to not have the paneer sabji again coming from south or north. It's the same. We don't want that universal. So every city, every place has its own vitality and particularity and character to exhibit, yet within the overall framework that DNA. And this is what we did through architecture. There's no names written perhaps to each spaces, but I'm sure you would not go wrong in guessing either the climate base, cultural base, material base, resource base in terms of know-how, etc. Yet for the sake of academic interest, I put the name, but it's not insignificant. I mean, so significant. But if I put this, and I also have been lately pledging all my purse, although I come from Ahmedabad, so there might be more bills than the money. But you're welcome to take it all if you can label all of this correctly. Okay? I'm very confident about this. But if I put these names, you would trust me, but I could have fooled you. This could have been Hong Kong, Singapore, anywhere, any name that you like, and I'm sure it will go on this. That's as universal in that sense. Is that what are we talking about when we talk about all those ethos of architecture and the context from where we stem? Okay? That's where we could learn from, and these are one of the few examples of my own, understanding from where we can learn a lot. Like this is one of this as stepped well. Not that because it's yesterday, not that because it's close to our city, but simply it's functionally obsolete building, 6th century old. It's not like palaces with many ornate things. It's not even above ground like pyramid or any minaret or dome or shikhara to even catch you from far. And yet, if it entices you to go 5 full floor down, not even able to touch water, and if somebody sponsors, you don't mind going there again, that timelessness, that functional obsolescence, but the awe inspired by simply the space making, can we not learn those principles from them? For example, and that's why we did this graphic, we thought that plan and section, today's student, if they do axonometric, they'll say, oh, chalo acha kaam kiya hai, theek hai. But design mein kuch zyada nahi hai. If I draw a plan, most of teachers would fail you saying, "Arey yaar, imagination hai, kuch to tension lai hai, ye bahut symmetrical or boring ho gaya," Because it's not about diagrammatic resolution, it's about experiential richness and decoding as you go further. For example, the way it unfolds from middle of nowhere, you have 2 outcrop of stone with few steps to climb up. Look at the irony, to go down you're made to climb up. But at that point, there's everything else masked out from you. That's concealed. And what's revealed gives you a clue to come here. The moment you take first step, now the void further is revealed. So that's the next clue. That is the engagement. So any architecture that engages, you start connecting. It's part of the game. It's a dialogue that you start becoming part of the decoding process. Design is that dialogue. It's a communication where architect, you encodes the messages through its partial syntax, and as a perceiver, you decode that, and how that kind of connection succeeds is what you encode is how it's decoded. That you go further. Now, don't forget the void, the light from top. So that becomes a visual focus that draws you there. Once you go there, you're surrounded from 3 sides. And that's where you get that enclosed thing, and therefore it makes you turn to the 4th, which is open. And that's where you get this beautiful panoramic view. I call it, it's like an invitational hug that monument is giving. Welcome to my precinct. It tells you, I'm so deep, I'm so long, but you're not a bird to fly. That's where choice of an element comes in play. That it's revealed, but it's a lot of things concealed for you to taste like a food. So the moment you take then a step, like a bite of thali, the fact that it's a stair, every step you are transposed horizontally and vertically. So like bite of thali, every step is a different visual construct of the same elements of space making. Every step is a changed sense of enclosure, and every step is a different intensity of light. And if you're perceptible, every step has a different maybe temperature kind of a thing. So that's how with that variety, that's why that encouragement, it's a carrot in front of a perceiver, that he keeps on going by unfolding something new, the nuance that he had not known before. So it is that idea of sequential unfolding. It's like a treasure hunt. You go to that point, then the next clue is offered, so then it engages you to go further. So it's that phenomenon that makes it dialogue, that makes it a kind of a personally experienced architecture, experiential, where being there matters. You might have photographs and Wikipedia, but yet being there is the reward and the eventual virtue or the essence of that journey. Water was merely an excuse. It is the journey that it set in motion and the kind of way that you decoded and experienced that. That's what the 6th century old, functionally obsolete, all buried building does. That's why, and no embellishment really to speak of. The only one is, this was humanly universal. Even a farmer from Russia could feel the same way. Added to that, now cultural connotation. So like you have these symbols, it is about going to the womb of Mother Earth, and therefore these notions of fertility with motherhood, goddess and all that are put in. And it's the tripartite division, heaven is sky, earth on ground, and patar below ground. And that is signified by the water symbols. For example, when you start the very last point, but the first visual frame is Ganesh. So it marks the auspicious beginning of the journey. When the same drum, the shaft, ends with that of a fish telling you that you've come to the water world. So it's that sort of a additional overlay to nourish you mentally as well as physically. Temple complexes, again, the idea of shikhara, which from distance draws you there. Once you come, relay baton is passed to somebody else, so that is obsolete. You don't be lazy to take picture, you come there, it's gone for you. Then the next element takes over, and then the series of layers by which you eventually come close to the Garbhagriha or the cella, Sanctum Sanctorum, and Sanctum Sanctorum is actually pitch dark. So again that notion that whoever you conjure with the mind's eye is the God in front of you. So you can say Mobile Devaya Namaha there or whatever that you like, but what is the prayer about? Prayer is about introspection. And what can architecture help you with? To help you gradually withdraw from the worldly and bring you into very personal, very concentrated, very intimate space. And it's your personal journey. So time transited, time taken in moving from one to the other, that's why circumambulation is important. That echoes your questions and you find your own answer by spending in a kind of focused and concentrated way. So this is simply the way that architecture does. And it's not about yesterday in the sense, and it's not anybody's monopoly. So for example, the same idea that we see in that yesterday's religious or Indian architecture, it was a similar thought by Corbusier in Promenade Architecturale, where architecture is a walk. So in this building, first the ramp hypnotizes you. That's the only element that projects out, and like a tongue of the frog, it swallows you in. And look smartly, the kind of staircase is hidden from there. So first ramp takes you up. I'll just quickly go. From a neutral facade, that void now becomes like a gateway, like a veranda to take you there once you go up. And now instead of stair, it's a ramp. So you're basically walking, but by default you are ascending. So the first floor looks like a ground and ground looks like a basement. So that's the difference of stair and ramp. So every decision matters here. And now when you come up, then the small window to give you a glance and the light at the back that draws you there. And even that pivotal stool, though she will tell you long about it, and the kind of curvilinear wall of the toilet, and that guides you towards the space where you need to negotiate or whatever function you come for. Once you come out, now the stair is revealed and ramp is gone, hidden from your psyche. And that takes you up. And when you come up, that has done its bit. So again, relay of baton, pass to something else. Then you walk diagonally across and then the next dogleg stair. And that when you go up, at level of the floor, it is a curved wall taller than you. So it just a baffle and guides you in one direction. The same physical construct, but your position change when you climb the stair becomes like a toy, a sculpture in the larger volume. That's what changing perception, the kinesthetics perception does. That's what architecture has been about. And that is what how we experience, we like or not. So it is that phenomenon of engagement and experiencing. And then it's a ladder-like stair that takes you up. And east and west has a different response. Okay, one is more favorable for sun, other one is not. And that's how, whether it's a Bray Soleil or whether it's an open view to the river, is how. So the principles we can take back home, which are part of that book, disparate visual and physical access. You know where you have to go visually, but physical path is not the line of a arrow. You're made to meander. And when you're made to meander, every node becomes a story, a layer, a pause, like in a music in itself. So music is not about it's about the pauses and the kind of junctures that you create. So it is a sub-destination and story, like onion or cabbage. If you remove all layers, nothing is left. So it's all in that layers. So that's what it's all about. And that's why even in what we've been told, Islamic architecture, symmetrical, but there's water feature in the middle. Even in Taj Mahal, even though how dirty you are, you're not expected to swim and meet Mumtaz. Actually, that water body puts you off the axis and you see things from different point of view and to kind of appreciate that accordingly. Movement holds the key both in conditioning of mind as well as seeing the different facets and unfolding as it comes along. There are choices of movement, like I said, like a thali, that you make your own path, you make your combination, and it's your own experience and that's why being there is important. Kinesthetics as an important way of organizing things. So when you work on site, this comes naturally. You know, from 79th floor, if there's a particular view, nobody in the world, none of those names that came earlier can ever fathom that. But a small laborer holding the tagara on the head would say, यार ये architect लोग तो symmetry की क्यों इतनी बड़ी है? यहाँ पर window दो, कितना बढ़िया नजारा है, you know. So it's very natural, and that's how you're going to decode it. You know. Nature, building is always static, but when you integrate nature into architecture, that is always dynamic, and that's what makes it timeless. That the same building, but window outside would have different light, different etc. And symbol is one of the last overlays, as I said, that can hold. Now, if that is the foundation about timeless architecture, about holistic concern, and about the kind of basis on which, if we were to think about theorizing or unlearning this, how do we design today? This is too quick, too singular, and too literal an idea that child, when he crawls on the floor, dirties his attire. So design an attire in a such that turn him into a mop, let him go all around and clean the floor. Look at this, I have an expensive shoe, so I just rather have an umbrella for my shoe. And if, the whole idea of Shringar is so personal, so unique, and if that needs a template, your whole, poetry killed out there. This is Control, Alt, Delete, all through single stroke, and I'm getting late for my job, so although I want hot noodle, I have to have fan to cool it off. And we as architects are not far behind. This is our training or one page from magazine that we share and copy. Hard disk gets imprinted, and then we do this. And I'm sure the developer might not have been asleep that night, but the only thing that would have consoled him after all meditation is, ये आर्किटेक्ट लोग बहुत क्रिएटिव होते हैं और यार दरवाजा नहीं है फिर भी बालकनी लगाते हैं. We're expert in making mistakes. We do amazing blunders, but then we use all our creativity and ingenuity to solve that problem what we have created naturally. Can we not add value through design? So function is obvious, but what additional value can we bring in? That's what engineer can't do. That's where what architect can bring. Values can be satire, beauty, message, social concern, environmental concern, etc., etc. What is the direction, therefore, we are taking and what we need to take? Unfortunately, it's the left. Like the middle one, the same laptop, but if I add an extra layer of bamboo chip, I'll call it a green laptop. And that's what many of the elite directives could be seen as. This is Mr. Wally Broecker, the same scientist that coined the term global warming, is doing this artificial tree-like looking installation. Could that have been done simply by natural seeding of the plants? Okay. What we need is something on the right. Like children are very lucidly in Africa in that installation, playing with that round wheel, merry-go-round, circle and circle and circle, but it's been connected with the little mechanical thing at the aquifer that by default, as they are playing, they're actually lifting the water up, and by 24/7 gravity, they'll find the water coming down. So is this not the path that we can take? Even your personal designs, fantasies, can it not have added value? Just khali yahan par kuch aise kar dena. But we are an architect, can we probably think of a scale tattooed out? The foot was a foot because it was a foot. I don't know what centimeter or meter is about, okay? So, it was very accepted. I remember as a childhood that a cloth was given by a salesperson, not by measuring on a footputty, but actually this is a yard. I always say as Ahmedabadi shrewd businessmen, they would hire Nepali salesmen to sell you that cloth, so at least the yard is a little smaller than the rest. Habib Khan would never be allowed to be a salesperson there. And this Navratri, typical backless cholis and all machos just go ogling over there. तो यार आई चेक तो दे दो मुफ्त में, इतनी सोशल सर्विस कर सकते भैया. तीसरी लाइन तो पढ़ी नहीं जाती, आगे देखी मत, जाके डॉक्टर को दिखा, चश्मे के नंबर निकाल, फिर ये खेलने आना है ना. और ये करते करते तेरा मेट्रो पॉइंट तो गया, दूसरा बस स्टॉप अभी ये आएगा. Ahmedabad, I always have a mild heart attack every month when I have to throw the toothpaste. Sala kuch reh gaya hoga. So I jump on it, I squeeze it out, I use the chimta, and everything gone, but that night I can't sleep. And I've told my wife not to take cardiogram at that point in time. But this came to the rescue. Now I see from both sides, bilkul hawa hai, bilkul khali hai, bete fact de, so ja aaram se, Same keyboard function is not denied, but different takes additionally taken. Can it be three-dimensional keyboard so I don't bend my back? Can it be flexible to arrange? Can it be flexible of a body contour? Can it be waterproof? Can it be G-paste? Can it be easy to roll? Likewise, like this switchboard on the left top, when you put it on, the ghost friendly, gives friendly smile. If it's little long, it frowns, and if it's too long, it really makes faces, just to let you know. But we are very blunt. We're businessmen, in Gujarat. So, Mera Kitna Taka, these things don't work for us. This is a series that was removed from Gujarat, and they created special series on right top. Mera Kitna Taka. Every time you put on the light, put the coin in, and then we became very romantic. अरे यार कॉइन मत डालना, अब तो अमावस्या है या पूनम है, कितना अच्छा चांद है, नेचुरल डे लाइट, आई मीन मूनलाइट में खाते हैं, लाइक दैट. This might be the British no patta wala, so you come, put your hat or coat, light comes on, you remove, and it's done automatically by itself. Or maybe on the right bottom, maybe this is a romantic French that whispers, "Can I turn you on?" Avatar we believe in, but why can't these obsolete products find a next life after its primary use? And that's what was done in this beer bottle, that a squarish form, serration, so beer bottle once consumed became equivalent of a brick in the wall. This was Wobo World Bottle by Heineken Beer. Technology is not a preserve of the few. It's not about today and yesterday and tomorrow. There's been always, like you stand by today by some technology, but trust me, by the time you can save enough money to buy i10, i12 is already in the market, and i13 is in the making, and the other one is obsolete in no time. And that's what you're holding as your DNA today. That's the main mistake that we made. So if to keep medicine refrigerated, if I have to kind of use this solar panels, so be it in the desert. There's no paradox. A leaking roof, whether invest in the umbrella of your own rather than write bureaucratic letters. And it's not even the machine or electricity, it's just with minimum what maximum can you get. That's what sustainability works. It's a contextual adjustment, it's not a formula. And this is what all our hackers do all the time. As architects, therefore, we need to understand what our design decisions can influence positively or not. So shading ego, because as I say, whenever we build something, we're altering the landscape to begin. So we are the first culprit. Second, what we create, there's a lot of resource spent in, etc. And that is what. And third, it lasts beyond us. So our mistakes also perpetuate for longer. So therefore, like doctor, you have to understand the norms and standards for that development, which is appropriate and addresses the need and aspirations of the people. So then if it's prescriptive that any other person comes, it's the same, that's where you end up with this contradiction. Like this says no plastic on the banner, nice message, but that banner is itself a plastic. There was a study done in Japan that if these executives in multinationals or banks were allowed not to have this tight tuxedo formal dressing and have casual, they will feel the same level of comfort with couple of degree warmer AC temperature. So it was the wrong dressing having to unduly jack up the AC to a lower temperature. So if Mr. Mohanlal or people from coastal region, if they're bare-chested, are they primitive or they're the most
smartly dressed individuals, okay? So it's more about the kind of context and in which, for example, if we had our architecture designed in a way that if the power goes on, we still can continue debating, discussing, that we don't have to depend on these artificial means. So that's a kind of bottom line, that's a kind of basis in which it has to work. And that's what we can learn from our yesterday's architecture. There were simple principles applied. For example, if there's a thick mass of the wall, then it will insulate. But in India, we can't only think of insulation. Actually, we have to think more about ventilation. For example, right now, all of us, doesn't matter how cool we are, but we would be emitting 75 kilowatt hour per meter square kind of an energy, and therefore it will be warm initially. What we need is to evacuate that heat out, and therefore that ventilation
and insulation kind of combination, and that is what has to carry. We had invented fantastic fenestration, jali, where from inside you could see out, but unlike glass, it was not opaque to breeze. It could allow for transparency, therefore for ventilation, and you could see from inside out, but from outside they could not. So that was cultural privacy. And Venturi's principle, so as the breeze goes through a small aperture, you would feel comfort and breeze. So if it was scientific, if it was aesthetic, it was cultural, why have you thrown it out of the window? Then, क्या हो गया? Let's after you want same way, so when you say 3-part window, you know, you go to Bangalore, pilot says it's 24 degree outside, and yet in a hotel you have to run AC to get 24 inside. So problem is not about using AC or not, that's not the value. But if outside is 24 and yet you have to run AC to get 24 inside, that's crime. That's never done. We design hotels with understanding or acceptance and liberty wrongly taken that has no direct light, no direct window, no direct illumination. So even summer afternoon, broad daylight, you have to run artificial light to illuminate that corridor. Who gave us that license? Okay, so those are the kind of things that are being questioned here. So if those are the kind of things, if we learn about multiple roof for ventilation, when 3-part window, the top one for ventilator, middle one for the view, and lower one for the kind of breeze to come in, can we not apply those principles in present day architecture? So it's more of those lessons and those applications. How do we translate that in today's architecture? For example, it's not about the material that you buy at the cost in sale, super sale from your cousins, brothers, somebody's neighbors, you know, kind of a shop. Every material has a life cycle cost, it has the energy cost, it has the kind of environmental cost. So if we choose the material, for example, one aluminum can of Coca-Cola, if recycled rather than thrown, can save energy equivalent of running television for 20 minutes. Why? Because aluminum is 160 times more energy intensive than the unburnt clay brick. PVC is 120 times, glass is 100 times, and so on and so forth. Concrete, steel 30 times, concrete 10 times, likewise. So that's why you have to choose. Every decision that we take has loaded meaning into environment, into people, into its cost, and into its aesthetic. And with all these considerations, if we do, so whether it's land, water, vegetation, material, and other resources. For example, how did we build first civilization? We were agrarian, and land was a very scarce and important resource. That's why we built with deep, long houses with internal courtyard and 3-side sheds. So in a compact land, leaving large fertile land for agriculture, we could build, we could have small travel distances because of narrow deep plot, and as a result people could walk, and yet it was a civilization, it was a breakthrough of the kind of way that we could live. The same compactness and therefore regard for land continued for different reasons in Middle Ages, where for defense, see, more is spread out, there will be more kind of vulnerability of being able to guard that area, and therefore we built so compactly that we again, in a sense, therefore optimized on land. And the great comparison is that if you see medieval towns, typically like one of which I would have shown the picture of, Dubrovnik, World Heritage Site, has 40 acres, 16 hectares of land for several thousand people to live in sustainably. And the same area is what is spent on American Expressway's Cloverleaf intersection, which are like 4 circles that go like that, simply for a luxury of not slowing down the car to change the direction from 100 kilometers an hour. If you're willing to stop and turn, no such land is required. But to continue to drive it because of that gyroscopic kind of principle, you need that radius to continue at 100 kilometers and yet change direction. So that's an attitude with which, you know, in Mumbai, we haven't shrunk our dreams. That is, ठीक है, वो sky तो नहीं दिखेगा, सामने तो दूसरा building आएगा ही आएगा. How can you have a stupid little even balcony? Today we are so many, we will talk about all India's population, and how can we even think of an open space in an apartment in a Mumbai? But we don't question where have we spent that land. Christopher Alexander's study of 70s in North America, which may apply to us now, was that downtown Los Angeles has more than 60% of its land devoted to something called car, which we don't question. You know, if on a street there is a car
we would not question, अरे वाह क्या बहुत ऑडी है यार, अरे मर्सिडीज ये जग देखी कि नहीं. But on that, if this personal property on a public space and all that is fine. But we would not allow
One small hawker to put up something and is selling this there because you need that at that place in that time for that cost, and he's an encroacher. That's the kind of mindset with which we're dealing. And if for a country like USA, which had 800 cars per 1,000 people, if that was the norm, for a country like India with 8 vehicles per 1,000, should that be the norm? 20% of world's population own 3/4 of resources, and 80%, 90% of the vehicle, and so on and so forth. Should we go on widening the road, or we should think of the other 80 and think about footpath as the real right of way when we design the cities, and so on and so forth? Like Saab told about thinking about the poor, it's not the sympathy, but look at the disparity. Whole of Mumbai, 50% of population live in slum, and the slums all put together only occupy 6 to 8% of Mumbai's land, and we are making all these stupidest solution to say 26-story में उसको डाल दो और उसका भी 2/3 developer को दे दो, I mean, this 8% land we can't forgo and forgive, and then all those there, without any government, have found shelter to themselves. So 50% live in 8%, and the remaining 50 is thought Bollywood and whatever that we talk about, the jalsas and antilias, so to say. All right, so I'll just run through the thing. So do we need Shashwat Gandhi who knew when to wrap and unwrap, or we need Gandhi to toe a line of fashion, what is cool in summer and hot in winter, etc. We make blunders when we blindly copy from somewhere, use diaper instead of beeper at night. You might need it, but you don't have to advertise on the back of the truck. So we must know when we are aping and when we are adapting. When we mindlessly copy from one source, you're barred from exam, and that is plagiarism. But we smartly copy from 100 sources, you are awarded PhD by the same university. This is the land and the tablet I was talking about. That 2nd century BC, what this tablet shows is that as much gold that you can spread is the amount of land you could own. And it is that the value given. That's why we build compactly. That was the comparison about the cloverleaf intersection. This is that thing about widening is not an answer, and land and vegetation is required for many more than us. Say how cultural understanding, both are same scale open space, and if you make a 3D printout, it will look the same, but one on the left, arguably, ironically, a traditional quarter looks positive, one on the right, having come as an outcome of bylaw for what you call service lane, is actually been the culprit for degenerated environment. Those could have simply been changed, that this window, if it was turned into a door, people would not throw muck out of it. Instead, they would maintain both sides, the courtyard, backyard, and it would be different. 15% open space, but not a window, nothing pests actively looking out, and therefore it's eventually abused and unused. Too large a space versus interspersed Chinese puzzle of black and white, and that makes a difference. It's not money, the mindset. Ballard Estate, you can see below, the left is the kind of facade, one of the beautiful postcard, colonial architecture. Who is who? The country's, corporate houses own it. It's most expensive real estate, but look at the pipe running over the window, which means I have nothing to do with the back, and that syndrome has relegated this priceless real estate into a dump yard. As against if you would have simply entered from this triangular corner, there would have been fountain, there would be all sorts of things like Roman villas or whatnot, and that would have been positive. Okay? And in a slum, at no cost, this has been turned into positive space. It's just the mindset and understanding. We had in Ahmedabad that example that early morning, the same urban plaza, it's not a rural area, it's not a unpaved area. Urban chop in morning is a cow grazing ground, afternoon it's a business district with informal, and evening it's an outdoor eatery. And if you don't like traditional, here is the Le Corbusier mark, like IS mark, this IC mark. Building on the left, Manorama Sarabhai's house in 1954. If you don't see left picture, you can't believe that that is top-wise, ground floor, second, the middle, first floor, and third, the second floor of the house. Because when you put a building, can you not replace the terrace for the ground, vertical green? Land, water, people managed at 30 liter per day per person in India and Africa. Our official figure is 135 people. In Europe manages 250. USA is always the king of the king, 600 liters, but we have Shahenshahon ki bhi Shahenshah, that Antillia, one person's house, one family's official occupancy of 5 people, guzzles 5 lakh liter per day. We had answers. This is Jahaj Mahal, that all entire region's catchment was collected into these Mujh Talab. This is called Jahaj Mahal because, like ship, it's parked between 2 water bodies. It got kind of channelized into an arrival pond, then by Brehet manually lifted and then khar over the Mughal chadars. These channels by gravity take it down, 3-dimensional water kind of floor, and comes into the first hammam for Raja and Rani, then goes to lower hammam for the courtiers or so, then by gravity into fountain and Mughal chadar, and then Kapurthala. No drop of water is wasted, and siting to detailing has been consistently integrated with architecture. It's not the plumbing plan later on and afterthought. I said about material, 300 houses could have been illuminated by these 72 fluorescent tubes running for 12 stupid hours of commercial message. 92% of energy goes in daylighting and cooling. Could that not be optimized? We don't build like this. The top one is a south-facing facade, blazing sun even on the footpath to make it 3 degrees warmer than 47 than otherwise it is, or the lower one west-facing facade, and that is again the nightmare. These are the traditional responses I was talking about: Jali, Venturi effect, 3-part window, diffuse light, courtyard. My next book is on courtyard of architecture, which also harvested water, multi-tiered roof, terraces as outdoor living space, and all put together. Like here, it has a higher density than the high rise. The one below is legally 1.2, 1.8, 2.2, 10-story building, while the 4-story poorhouse is 2.7 FSI. So it's again a fallacy that for such a threshold you need to go higher. Multiple use of space, including you're all welcome this weekend, 14 January, a kite flying. Everybody's on a rooftop, fantastic. Then simple logic, 3 sides, so 2 sides are shared. Third side is projecting upwardly, so when sun is overhead, the whole facade is in the shade. And so simple things, and you don't need air conditioner in May afternoon to live in this even today. It's socially one of the most charged and dynamic neighborhood. And can we not learn from these principles? Even the day-to-day routine, sustainability is way of life. What fan used to do with electrical energy, we simply did with muscle power when you julaed on Jula. You were cutting the air and you were, kind of having cool comfort out of evaporative cooling of your perspiration. And in fact, the hot food helped for that perspiration. Chili is very important in this. So with that as a kind of a basis, just so that I don't feel like Sadhu who preached and ran away, I just want to put myself in firing lane to very quickly run through one example from a very smallest intervention to a whole settlement. This is Ujasyu in a slum when 3 sides are shut by the neighbor's wall. How do you bring light and ventilation in the last room? And this is simple, affordable, absolute common sense, know-nothing design. And this won us very recently, 10 days ago, this year's United Nations World Habitat Award. We are in the last 4 of the 100 entries that might have been reviewed. But when I show you, it's really nothing. But what is very, very rewarding is every house has saved 200 rupee a month kind of electricity. Their education level has improved. Even simple empty water bottle, but with internal reflection, it will glow like a bulb. You can take a bottle, put it against, and you'll see what it means. So simple thing like that, which is what, like, every patient doesn't need a medicine. Some are psycho patients and give sugar tablet and they'll be cured. So, that's what it is about. So you don't have to be extra to do something, So this is how education, social life, status, economy all change. So from a small device to installation, this is Paikhane Pe Khana. This one is floating in your social media as a weird 20 restaurants or so. See, this is in Gandhi Ashram. And root of untouchability was that those who were doing menial job, we call them untouchable. So Gandhi said, if we are a civilized country, a nation, we should abolish this and therefore invest in alternative technology. So these were the kind of toilet options that were done. And we turned this into a kind of a eating point. So just to change the mindset, when we say toilet, our reflex is this. Instead, can we not enjoy the meal in a positive way? So everything from the toilet and bathroom and reminders of that. Put just now, today it would have been Uma Bharti ji inaugurating one of the theme park of sanitation we have done in Delhi. It's been delayed, but we put all of this also there. It also is practical sometimes. Then to heritage and awareness. This is Corbusier's building, which was at the 6th centenary year. We said that how do people become aware about it? So we put in some installations, and we have the souvenirs design to propagate architecture into the common parlance and so. Then this was the Corbusier's building, arguably the heritage, the icon. This is how it was neglected and was deteriorating, and we converted, recycled it into a permanent museum in the city of Ahmedabad. This was the project gave me the first award in my life. This is interior. So from there, if we move into the internal space, this also gave us the Immersion Cup Award for, by common sense, reducing 50% of energy load and making it a little more friendly and humane. So use daylight to the maximum. In fact, you have to diffuse light rather than use artificial light. Use natural plant along the periphery, use jali as an idea. Also integrate local craft. This is Varli and Molela. So give patronage to them. They're beautiful, affordable, unique, but without our patronage, they'll die. Nature-inspired detailing. From that to residence. This is residence for a richer person, but same principle, water harvesting, underground tank, skylight, courtyard, natural finishes, overhangs on the south, palette of material brought locally, so to say, Kota stone in a rich house, and likewise. And daylight, like this courtyard, below that is several tens of thousands, 35,000 liter tank, and no chimney. I mean, I feel it's all marketing gimmick. We never designed for chimney, even in our clumsy cooking. You have a skylight on top, which brings a diffused light, what you see. Smell and smoke and heat goes out from there, and this is quite open kitchen in that sense. And dynamics of light, ferrocement roof, but the morning sun glows you to bring in, and the puncture through the day gets different, so birds can fly all around. And this is how even in that the craft is integrated, including today's laser art and today's knowledge with instrument. This is a standalone building where each facade actually responds to and resolves out of its post. So left hand side southwest, which is operable louver. The middle one, the south, which has a jali inspired from the local monuments of Ahmedabad. And this is north, which is a crossword puzzle, which is a natural, air-conditioned jali ventilation. And as you can see, it is actually a publishing house, so that we have words about that, and that's how it's sort of resolved from within. This is the recycled waste in a slum. 2,600 metric ton every day comes out. So how do you convert that waste into building component? And whether it's a fly ash brick, whether it's a 5% cement, whether it's an inert material, whether it's a carton board, whether it's even
in Ahmedabad with a dry state, there are enough liquor bottles to find, and we use that in the walling option. Even for Delhi, we have to export it from Ahmedabad. That's the irony. And the old ladies, like empty plastic bottle, because filling the inert material and the ladies earn livelihood to do that job, and nobody gives you 5 paisa for that, and that was converted into equivalent of brick of 2.5 rupees. And that is how it became economical solution or income generative solution. It got value addition for a product which would have been an inert material pollutant. Now it becomes a resource
for somebody to be equivalent of 2.5 rupee brick. If it is coming, it's fine. Otherwise, I could just conclude. So likewise, therefore, there are multi-angles with which same thing is done. It's not a personal ego of a person, but contextually it was right that it was in a slum and women were earning livelihood after rack picking. So that's why this was a local resource. This was a value addition. They could learn and take up employment out of it. And what you created was economically comparable to otherwise the inferior things that they were using, and be as much of or better in its performance. So those were the kind of way. And again, glass bottle is again not a whim. You have your knowledge to apply, that it is put on a waste facade. Why? Because no amount of overhang with a low sun would cut down the glare of the sun. So waste facade with that staining of the glass like a church would diffuse the light and yet glow within. And it actually dazzles and sparkles. Not only that, we became bold that now instead of putting mortar in between, we glued it together, and now you can have air coming in. Because southwest is bad for sun, but great for breeze. So likewise, there's all that information and knowledge. Information, when digested, becomes knowledge, and added with value, it becomes wisdom. And when that becomes ingrained, that's a sanskar. And that's what knowledge is to give you about. Okay, I thought I'd conclude here. Now that it is all there, braiding, plastic bottle, roofing, even digital waste, scrap, ceramic industries waste, local skill, multiple use of space, crash, school, digital training in the afternoon, community center and festive place. This is an institute, commonsensical principle, cut and fill, so the soil is not imported or exported. The way you stagger and create courtyard, it can be an outdoor space. Generate resource out of soil, so grow trees so they become taller than the building before you even plant the first brick. From where you dug up the soil become naturally insulative space, and the same principle of old houses that you stagger and project the upper floor so that it shelters. This is a southwest. Cavity wall construction, so it's an air gap and insulation. 3-part window in contemporary way, so louvers can control the sun but allow for breeze, solar active application without battery. 22 lakh of liter has been harvested here, and even this toilet pan is specially designed that urine will flush it off. If not, just 1 tumbler of water is good enough. 22 lakh liter is harvested. Root zone to recycle for the flushing versus the biogas to gas. Then waste from the site was put into interactive kind of game puzzle. Barrier free, as Cooper Saab mentioned, is entirely barrier free for everybody to use in every other area. Caring and sharing idea rather than individual spaces, multiple use of space, along shipbreaking yards, wood to recycle and use. So it's differently used at different time and uses no air conditioner. It's 18 kilowatt hour per meter square if my poor calculation may be correct. And this is how do you add value. I'll not get into detail, but the courtyard each becoming like an open book. So one is a water related thing, from its natural feature to even its scientific feature to its art feature. Every classroom has been installed with a supplementary material. Like in a canteen, the real spices to trade route with this, to 22 Indian cuisine with this calorie and whatever value, inspiring people, 192 countries kind of content. So it's a research base. This is one of the latest we've done as memorial, but it's not a statue of a person, but what he inspired from in nature is what became our basis. So again, learning from past. This is where he was cremated. So fire, water, biounity. This is the mandala, the Modera kind of a kund. These are the waters that give you the sense of enclosure. His life story is encased in that ramp. 87 plant species to match the number of his life, and yet plant species variation, Mughal chadar as you walk like a circumambulation around, the termination of X's, artist work, Prabhunath Mohapatra, who got Padma Vibhushan in Bhubaneswar, we commissioned to do these, and this is idea of cyclic time, so there's hope implied. This is the man-made, kind of a semi-jungle, and outside is all jungle. So it's from nature to man-made, that's how the progression goes. And even the building, this is a museum building, is all buried. So it's not the building that needs to be iconic to stand out. Actually, best driver is the one where he passes by and you don't notice, not the one who honks and one that has, all this blazing anything. So, the diving, the best mark you get is when you dive, you don't splash. So let not a building splash. Blend with nature. There's all Bhagavad Gita, idioms and all that. It's all done in-house. And finally, participatory process for construction in post-earthquake times. This is one of the 18 villages we did use local material. Look at the wisdom that 67-year-old Kacha building withstood the earthquake, while new buildings with Viratkai compressive strength gave way, which are all, and there is not a fluke, there are enough scientific reasons why it survived. I have maintained my points but lost hair. This to my right is the sponsor, and the whole village we gathered to make it, because overnight system was disturbed. So who am I to say this is your house, this is where you stay? So we encourage them to choose their location on a plot, and every social engineering. So we first played an architect to which they rejected, and then they applied this. We made a game, so they put themselves where they would like to locate. From there we turned it into a diagram that we put on the orientation on the site itself, so they don't go wrong in understanding the taboos about southwest is north. Then we never get the idea of scale from the model. And especially coming from Ahmedabad, they thought, your Pap log bahut kanjoos hota hai, itne chote chote plot dete, itni sari to zameen padi hai. So then we pegged one plot with 4 corners. They बोले कि आप सच में अहमदाबाद से आते हो, इतना तो चल जाएगा हमारा, And this is how it was transformed. And then people went with theodolite. They found people had started shifting their debris to the new place, which meant 2 positive things: their sense of acceptance and comprehension, which is most needed in a rehabilitation project. And with the help of local skill, local know-how, local material, 3,000 blocks were made with manual ramps. So that was a new introduction instead of the bus in which they just manually pressed. So you bring it, but without electricity, and it could be efficient. They build their own house, they would do the best they can. Youngest of the family learn from the oldest of the family, and therefore this 12-year-old boy knows how to do this complicated roof. That became their learning traditional skill. In fact, we have hired similar age people now. This was 17 years ago, so maybe it's him, where are some of the resorts they've built as a professional builder, the kind of mud houses, etc. So it's an additional thing. But because they built theirs, they had sense of belonging. This was 75 rupees a square foot, where government had stipulated 350 rupees a square foot. This was one of the first villages to be ready, because instead of 100, one person, one agency doing 100 houses, 100 families did 1 house each. This was ready in 2.5 months' time. And this is the most true to their lifestyle, to the climate, to the material. 75 rupee, most affordable, most sustainable. When outside is 47, inside is 34 or so. At the most, you might need fan. And these are not decor, these are their cultural artifacts. So it is true to their culture. Then one of the most beautiful interiors, only few surviving now. And in a harsh climate, you don't want big opening. And small opening should not translate into gloomy environment. So this is a white clay and mirror, so magnify as much light that can be done. So it's not a decor, it's absolutely scientific and design work. And that's how each house is a unique expression. 75 square meter post-earthquake is not a dukhi and mourning the death. It is celebrating the life and showing what as human you could do against the odd. And then element of new, we brought in school, smokeless chula, decentralized, and from where the soil was dug, with 3 inches of rainfall in the middle of desert, it became a reservoir. So it's a whole ecology chain, and with that, They, at their own initiative, started planting, so agriculture in the desert with that water resource created by that harvesting pond, and the craft was encouraged. So that's how it's a true kind of amalgamation. So I'll conclude with this passage, a dialogue between grandson and grandfather. Grandson asks, "How old are you, grandpa?" And grandpa says, "Son, I was born at a time where every family had a father and a mother. Your grandmother and I got married first and then lived together. Serving your country was a privilege, and living in the country was even bigger pride. Our lives were governed by the 10 Commandments, good judgment, and common sense. We were before television, penicillin, polio shots, frozen food, Xerox, contact lenses, frisbees, credit cards, laser beams, ballpoint pens, pantyhose, air conditioner, dishwashers, computer dating, dual carriers, daycare centers, and group therapy. Pizza Hut, McDonald's, and instant coffee were unheard of. We never heard of FM radios, tape decks, CDs, electric typewriters, yogurts, or guys wearing earrings. Man hadn't yet walked onto the moon. We thought fast food was what people ate during the fasting days. In my day, Coke was a cold drink, pot was something your mother cooked in, rock music was grandmother's lullaby, aides were helpers in principal's office, cheap meant a piece of wood, hardware was found in a hardware store, and software wasn't even a word. And we were the last generation to actually believe that a lady needed a husband to have a baby. No wonder people call us old and confused and say there is a generation gap, and how old you think I am. All these young aspiring generation would be thinking this is once upon a time, there was a jungle, there were dinosaurs alive, people were rubbing stone to ignite the fire. This is 64-year-old. Maybe things have changed, what is manifested here, but all that is a tool and technology manifestation. Let's not fool ourselves that as human species, you have advanced even this bit from your great-great-great-great-grandfather, or even the ape for that matter. We are the same DNA, we are the same social creature, we are the same to balance our existence as human to human and human to nature. All that existence is a struggle of that. And technology can well be a tool, but keep it as a tool. Don't be a slave of that thinking that you're smarter. With these smartphones, you have actually been using less brain. You were able to memorize, I don't know how many 100 telephone numbers, and maybe conveniently, but today you forget your wife's number with the mobile, okay? You know, everybody thought that now after video, cinema theaters would be dead. But you're waiting for Padmavat, pay 350 rupees on first day for a show to go to theater and watch it, because it was an event, it was an experience. It was a human factor to be there and do that. You don't make, promise to your family and say, we'll go to world tour after dinner on 1st January, let's watch video of Thailand and be Thailand hoke aaye. It doesn't work. On the contrary, you would look for sponsorship and go to Thailand one day and taste that food. Okay? If a son from Singapore or Far East Japan calls father several hours ahead, previous evening, on his correct date to wish 60th birthday, anniversary kind of wishes, for an hour and a half he might have spoken on Skype, so you can even see the face. Father, I love you, you really made me who am I and everything. And father said, "Bahut achhe beta, I am very proud that now you are a CEO of this company, you'll be happy there, we are all fine here, kuch nahi hua main, all right." And yet, next day morning, if a son comes home and pays surprise visit, 5:30 in the morning, he rings the bell, father opens thinking it's a milkman. But if he sees his son, even Ahmedabadi or Marwadi Kanju's father would not slap him and say, "Mere liye iPod liya tha." He can only hug and emotionally get raised to say, "Son, you just came for me, kal hi to baat ki thi, but you took holiday, you took all these pains, you really thought of me. I think you have really made my life and day. Kal agar maut bhi aaye to mujhe koi parwah nahi hai." So these human bonds can never go away, and if you therefore base all our eternal
ever-trending, everlasting principles on these two equations of human to human harmony and human to nature harmony. It will be always in fashion, it will be always in vogue. And in India, we have been more lucky. You know, there's been difference about glamour and beauty. Both catch attention, but it fades away in no time. Like today, you think of palazzo in style, and now you might have bell bottom. And that stupidest gown has come back, which was so depressing a dress. In 80s, probably my grandmother would have worn it at night time instead of pajamas, you know. And that we're thinking is fashionable today. So beauty is eternal, glamour might come and go. It is integral and timeless, and in India, all we can learn with our 6,000 years of repository of wisdom, that what has remained all this while worthwhile. Ignoring that is simply an arrogance, foolishness, and not for the romance, but for its performance. If we can learn from this wisdom, we don't have to reinvent alphabet from A to P. You can elsewhere start from Q, contemporarize the past and the relevance of that past, and take it further. So my mantra is to leave behind, inspired by yesterday and aspire for tomorrow, and to bring you that confidence that we can empower through design. We don't have to do Kaseva, we are designers, but through design, you can empower the poorest of the poor or the planet and keep it in the shape it should be. We can do design to improve the quality of life. That's the bottom line. And rather than therefore giving Gandhian currency the value, let's make Gandhian value itself the currency. So I invite you to embrace and traverse in the immensity of time and space, of notion and reality, of this context, this strange land, who we are a citizen of, the land called India. Thank you so much for your